Today you will not only practice your English, but you will also hear a story that can inspire your life. It is a story about dreams, fear, mistakes, and courage. It is the story of a young man who started with almost nothing, and step by step, he built something that touched the whole world. His name is Mark Zuckerberg, and his small idea grew into Facebook, and later Meta. Many of us dream about success. We dream about a better life, more freedom, and more meaning. But at the same time, we often feel very small. We feel unsure about our future. We ask ourselves, can I really do this? Am I strong enough? What if I fail? These questions make our hearts heavy. Some people stop before they even begin. They believe the mountain is too high. They choose to stay in the same place, safe but stuck. But there is another path. Some people decide to move forward, even with fear in their heart. They start small, with no promise of success. They face mistakes, criticism, and sleepless nights. And yet they continue. They believe that one step today can lead to 1,000 steps tomorrow. This is what makes the difference. This is what separates those who only dream from those who build their dream. Mark Zuckerberg was one of these people. He did not start as a great leader, and he did not have a big office or millions of dollars. He was just a student in a small dorm room at Harvard University. While others went to parties or relaxed, he sat in front of his computer, typing line after line of code. At first, it was just an idea, a simple website to connect people in his school. It looked small, even unimportant. But what looks small today can become powerful tomorrow. This story is not only about technology, it is not only about business, it is about the courage to begin, even when the world does not believe in you. It is about learning step by step, just like you are learning English today. Think about it. Every new English word you learn feels small. Every sentence you practice feels simple. But if you continue, day after day, one day you will look back and see how far you have come. This is how success is built, small actions that never stop. In this journey together, we will walk through the life of Mark Zuckerberg. We will see his victories, his mistakes, his struggles, and his changes. And through his story, you will find lessons for your own life. This is not just history. This is a mirror for your dreams. So, let us begin. Let us step into the dorm room where it all started. From that little spark of an idea, the world would never be the same. And from this moment, you may find the spark for your own journey too. The spark of an idea. Every big story begins with something small. Every fire begins with one tiny spark. This is true in life, in learning, and in success. Many people wait for the big moment to arrive, but the truth is, the big moment is born from small ones. Mark Zuckerberg's journey shows us how a single idea, simple and almost invisible, can grow into something that changes the world. It was the early 2000s. Mark was just a young student at Harvard University. He was not famous. He was not rich. He lived in a small dorm room with plain walls, a bed, and a desk with a computer. The computer became his window to something bigger. While many other students used the internet to play games, chat, or pass time, Mark looked at it differently. For him, the internet was not only for fun, it was a tool. It was a place where ideas could come alive. One night, while others were outside laughing and enjoying themselves, Mark sat at his desk. His fingers moved quickly on the keyboard. He typed code, line by line. To many people, those lines looked like nothing, just symbols and words on a screen. But in Mark's mind, those lines were like bricks. He was building something, one piece at a time. At first, it was small. It was a simple website to help Harvard students connect with each other. Nothing more. It did not look powerful. It did not look important. In fact, many people ignored it. They thought it was just another student project, another hobby that would soon be forgotten. But here lies the lesson. Small things, when given care and focus, can grow beyond imagination. Think of a seed. At first, it is tiny, almost invisible in your hand. But if you place it in the soil, give it water, and protect it, that seed becomes a tree. One day, the tree gives fruit and shade. That is what Mark was doing. He was planting a seed with his idea. Many students at Harvard had dreams. Some dreamed of good grades. Some dreamed of great jobs after graduation. But most only dreamed and stopped there. Mark was different because he turned his dream into action. He did not only think about building something, he actually sat down and built it. This is the first big difference between people who only imagine and people who achieve. Action transforms ideas into reality. At that time, Mark did not know how big his idea would become. He did not think about billions of users or a company called Meta. He only thought about solving one small problem. How can students at Harvard connect with each other more easily? That is all. It was simple, small, and clear. But the power of small is that it can grow. Now, let us pause and reflect. How many times do we have ideas in our own lives? Maybe you think of starting a new habit, like reading English every morning. Maybe you want to write a diary in English. Maybe you want to start a small project, like teaching a friend. Often we think, this is too small, it will not matter. So we stop. We throw away the seed before planting it. That is the mistake. Mark's story teaches us that no idea is too small if you care for it. The contrast is clear. Most students use the internet for short fun. They laughed, played, and forgot. Their actions disappeared the next day. Mark used the internet to build. His actions stayed, grew, and spread across the world. One group enjoyed the moment. The other created the future. This contrast is the spark we must see. In his small dorm room, with no grand plan, no team of experts, no millions of dollars, Mark began something that would one day reach across countries and cultures. Step by step, word by word, line by line of code, he gave life to his idea. At first, only a few people used his website. But those few became more. Students told other students. Soon, people outside Harvard wanted it too. The spark was turning into a flame. This should give you hope. Maybe today you feel small. Maybe your English feels weak. Maybe your dream feels impossible. But remember, every success begins exactly where you are now, with something small, something simple. The important thing is not size, but action. Mark's spark was not a perfect plan. It was not even beautiful. It was just the beginning. But beginnings do not need to be perfect. They only need to be real. That is the power of starting. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Company worth billions began with one small idea in one small room. As Mark worked late into the night, the glow of the computer screen was like a light in the dark. Around him, silence. Inside him, focus. He was not thinking about fame. He was not dreaming about being one of the youngest billionaires in history. He was simply focused on the work in front of him. He was building one page, one function, one connection at a time. Think about this for yourself. You do not need to know your whole future. You do not need to see the entire road. You only need to take the next step. Just as Mark built his website piece by piece, you can build your English, your dreams, your life. Step by step. The spark of an idea is enough. Do not underestimate it. Do not throw it away because it looks small. Instead, protect it, grow it, and give it time. Like fire, it will spread. Like a seed, it will rise. Mark's spark at Harvard soon began to attract attention. More students joined, more doors opened, and new challenges appeared. The small idea was growing, and with growth came struggle. The nights became longer, the problems became harder, and the dream began to demand more from him. This is where we go next. From the spark of an idea, we move into the shadows of hard work, where dreams are tested by struggle. Building in the shadows. Every dream looks bright from the outside, but the truth is often hidden in the shadows. Success is not born in the light of applause. It is born in silence, in long nights when nobody is watching, in hours of work that no one celebrates. Before recognition comes, there is always a period of quiet struggle. Mark Zuckerberg's story shows us this truth clearly. In the beginning, when his idea was still small, Mark worked alone in his dorm room. The room was simple, just a desk, a chair, and his computer. Outside, life at Harvard was alive and loud. Students laughed in the hallways. Music came from parties. Friends invited him to join them. But Mark often said no. While others danced and celebrated, he sat in front of the glowing screen. His world was not the party. His world was the code. Night after night, he worked. Sometimes his eyes grew heavy, but he pushed forward. Sometimes the code broke, and the website crashed. He faced bugs that made no sense, problems that wasted hours, errors that refused to disappear. In those moments, it would have been easy to quit. Many people would have closed the computer and walked away. But Mark stayed. He told himself, "If I stop now, the dream stops with me." This is the shadow side of building. From the outside, people only see the success, the finished product, the millions of users, the fame, but they do not see the lonely hours. They do not see the mistakes that must be fixed again and again. They do not see the doubt inside the mind of the creator. Doubt whispered to Mark many times, "What if no one cares about this website? What if you are wasting your time?" Doubt is always present in the shadows, but Mark answered doubt with discipline. He kept moving. He reminded himself of the reason he started. He wanted to connect people, to make communication easier, faster, and closer. That vision became his anchor. It held him steady when his friends laughed and when sleep called his name. Here lies the contrast. Many of his classmates chose fun in the moment. They went to games, parties, and dinners. They enjoyed now. Mark chose sacrifice. He gave up easy pleasure for the sake of a bigger future. At that time, no one clapped for him. No one called him a genius. In fact, some thought he was strange. But years later, the same people would use the platform he built. Years later, the world would know his name. This lesson is powerful for us. Building in the shadows means being patient when no one sees your work. It means practicing English every morning even if no one praises you. It means writing in a notebook when nobody reads it. It means repeating words and sentences again and again, even when you feel tired. Success is not in the moment of applause. Success is in the quiet steps you take when nobody is looking. Mark's nights in his dorm room were heavy. The screen burned his eyes, and the code filled his head. Sometimes he stayed awake until dawn. The sun rose, and other students woke up fresh. But Mark's body was tired, and his mind was still fighting with problems. He lived in two worlds, the noisy world outside and the silent world of his computer. It was lonely. It was difficult. Yet, it was necessary. In those long nights, Mark learned not only coding but also discipline. Discipline is doing what is important, not what is easy. It is choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. Discipline is the bridge between a dream and reality. Without it, ideas die. With it, ideas survive and grow. Think about this for your own journey. Maybe you study English alone in your room. Maybe you feel tired because progress is slow. Maybe your friends are watching movies or playing games while you repeat words again and again. It feels lonely, and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Remember Mark in his dorm room. Remember that building in the shadows is the hidden price of future success. At Harvard, as his website slowly improved, Mark began to see small results. A few students used it. They shared it with their friends. The numbers grew, not fast, but steady. Each new user gave him new energy. Each small success was like a light in the darkness. It reminded him that the long nights were not wasted. The seed was breaking the soil. The shadow work was beginning to show its fruit. Still, the struggle was far from over. With growth came new problems. More users meant more bugs, more pressure, and more responsibility. The work became heavier. Mark could no longer hide in complete silence. The world was starting to notice what he was building, and with attention came challenge. But before that moment, we must not forget the hidden truth. Success is built in quiet places. The applause comes later. The reward comes later. The light comes later. First, you must accept the shadows. You must embrace the nights when your dream feels too heavy. You must keep building even when no one says thank you. Mark's discipline in those early days created the foundation for everything that followed. Without the shadows, there would be no light. Without the long nights, there would be no company called Facebook. Without sacrifice, there would be no Meta. And so, his journey continued. From the quiet room, from the glowing screen, from the long nights of coding, the small idea was now ready to step out. More people were joining, more voices were talking, and more eyes were watching. The spark had become a flame. But with the flame came new winds, winds of opposition and challenge. Now the question was no longer, can I build this? The new question was, can I survive the pressure, the critics, and the resistance that will come? Facing opposition. Every dream, no matter how beautiful, will face a storm. No matter how strong your idea is, there will always be voices that try to stop it. When something begins to grow, opposition appears. This is the law of life. And in Mark Zuckerberg's journey, this moment came quickly. At first, Facebook was just a small website at Harvard. Students enjoyed it, and the numbers grew. But the more it grew, the more attention it attracted. And with attention came criticism. Some students said it was silly. Some said it was dangerous. Some said it would never last. These voices became louder as the website spread from one school to another. Then came something even heavier: lawsuits. A few students accused Mark of stealing the idea. They said he had no right to build Facebook. Lawyers came. Courts became involved. It was no longer just about coding in a quiet dorm room. It was about fighting for survival. For many people, this would have been the end. Imagine being young, still in college, and suddenly facing powerful critics and lawsuits. Imagine people calling you dishonest, calling your work a copy, calling your dream a mistake. Most people would break under that pressure. Many would stop and walk away. But here, we see the difference. Mark did not stop. He did not let the critics write the ending of his story. He listened, he defended himself, and he kept building. He did not let opposition destroy his vision. His belief was stronger than the noise around him. This is the contrast. On one side, there are people who stop when opposition comes. They see a wall, and they turn around. On the other side, there are people who see the same wall and decide to climb it. Critics tried to block Mark's path, but he kept moving. He trusted the seed he had planted. He trusted the spark that was already becoming a flame. Opposition comes in many forms. Sometimes it comes as people who laugh at you. Sometimes it comes as people who doubt you. Sometimes it comes as problems bigger than you feel ready to face. But opposition is not a sign that you are wrong. Often, opposition is proof that your dream matters. No one fights against something unimportant. Mark's story teaches us that critics are part of the journey. They are not the end. The end is decided by you, not by them. While others tried to drag him down, he used his energy to move forward. Every insult became fuel. Every lawsuit became a test of focus. And every moment of doubt became an opportunity to show strength. Think about your own life. Maybe when you practice English, someone laughs at your mistakes. Maybe they say, "Your accent is strange," or "You will never speak fluently." These voices hurt, but they do not control your future. Only you decide if you stop or continue. Opposition is not the end. It is a door you must walk through. Mark believed that connecting people was more important than the noise around him. That belief kept him alive in the storm. He did not deny the criticism, but he did not let it control him either. He understood a simple truth. If you wait for the world to support you, you will wait forever. If you want to succeed, you must move even when the world is against you. The lawsuits did not disappear overnight. The critics did not become fans instantly. The opposition remained, but so did Mark. And while the battles continued, something powerful was also happening. Facebook was spreading. More and more people were joining. The idea was too strong to be stopped. The storm was real, but the flame of belief burned brighter. This period of opposition shaped Mark as a leader. It forced him to make decisions. It forced him to stand tall when he felt small. It forced him to believe in his vision with even greater strength. Without this storm, he would not have grown. Without critics, he would not have learned resilience. Without the lawsuits, he would not have learned to fight for his dream. Here lies the lesson. Opposition is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you how much you believe in your dream. It tests your heart. It asks, do you really want this, or are you ready to give up? Only those who keep walking through opposition reach the other side. For Mark, reaching the other side meant seeing Facebook move beyond Harvard, beyond colleges, and into the wider world. His vision was becoming bigger. And now it required more than just one person in a dorm room. It required a team. It required leadership. The boy who started alone now had to guide others. But before that new challenge, he learned one of the most important truths. Critics will always be there, but belief is stronger. The world may doubt you. People may laugh. Problems may rise like mountains. But if you hold your vision, if you believe in the spark inside you, nothing can stop you. Mark faced the storm and survived. Now, the next step was clear. If Facebook was to grow even more, it needed structure. It needed hands, minds, and hearts working together. It was time to move from the fight of opposition to the challenge of leadership. Growth and leadership. In the beginning, Facebook was a small seed planted in a dorm room. Mark Zuckerberg worked alone, coding late at night, fixing bugs, and dreaming about what might be possible. But a seed cannot stay small forever. If it is alive, it grows. And as Facebook grew, Mark's life began to change. It was no longer just about one young man and his computer. It became about many people, many voices, and many responsibilities. Growth is exciting, but it is also heavy. When something grows, it demands more from you. Facebook was spreading across universities and then into the wider world. Every day more people joined. Suddenly, millions of users were connecting, sharing, and living part of their lives through this new platform. What began as a student project now looked like the beginning of a company. Mark had to face a new reality. He could no longer build everything by himself. The boy in the dorm room had to become a leader. He had to invite others into his vision. He had to guide programmers, designers, and managers. He had to make decisions not only for himself, but for a whole team. This was a new test, and in many ways it was harder than coding alone. At first, Mark was shy and quiet. He liked to sit behind his computer more than stand in front of a group. But leadership does not wait for comfort. Leadership demands growth. He had to speak to investors, people with money and power, who wanted to know why they should believe in him. He had to explain his vision clearly, even when he felt nervous. He had to listen to employees who looked at him for direction. This was a sharp contrast to his past. Before, he made decisions alone, and only his computer answered him. Now, dozens of eyes waited for his words. Hundreds of workers followed his choices. If he moved too quickly, people could fall. If he moved too slowly, opportunities could pass. Leadership was not about lines of code anymore. It was about guiding hearts and minds. Here we find a key lesson. Success is not just about your own hard work. At some point, success becomes about helping others succeed with you. One person can begin the spark, but many people are needed to carry the fire. Leadership is the art of carrying that fire together. Mark had to learn patience. Sometimes his team made mistakes. Sometimes projects failed. In those moments, it was easy to feel angry or disappointed, but leadership meant staying calm. It meant teaching, guiding, and lifting others when they stumbled. A leader does not only celebrate victories, a leader also carries the weight of failures. He also had to learn vision. Vision means seeing not only where you are, but where you are going. Employees worked on small tasks, writing code or fixing problems, but Mark had to hold the bigger picture. He had to keep reminding everyone of the reason they were building, to connect the world. Without vision, a team becomes lost. With vision, a team becomes strong. This is the contrast we must see. the student coding alone versus the leader guiding a company. Both are important, but they are not the same. Alone, Mark could create a website. With a team, Mark could create a global network. Alone, he could build a tool. With a team, he could build a movement. The difference was leadership. Think about this for your own journey. At first, when you learn English, it feels like a private battle. You study alone with your book or phone. You repeat words quietly to yourself. But as you grow, you may join groups, talk with friends, or even help others learn. At that moment, you are not only a learner, you become a leader. You share your vision, you give courage, and you create something bigger than yourself. Mark faced many investors during this stage. Some wanted to change his vision. Some wanted him to focus only on money. But Mark kept repeating the same belief. Facebook was about connecting people. He refused to let the vision shrink into only profit. This was leadership too, protecting the mission when others tried to pull it in another direction. Of course, not everything was easy. Leadership brought stress. It brought responsibility. It meant waking up every day with hundreds of problems to solve. But it also brought meaning. Every time Facebook reached more people, every time new connections were made, the wait felt worth it. Leadership was not comfortable, but it was powerful. Here is another lesson for us. Leadership is not about titles or positions. Leadership is about responsibility. It is about caring for something bigger than yourself. You do not need to be a CEO to be a leader. If you take responsibility for your family, you are a leader. If you help a friend practice English, you are a leader. If you hold a vision and guide others toward it, you are a leader. Mark learned this truth in the middle of Facebook's growth. He discovered that leadership is not given. It is practiced. It is built through patience, vision, and courage. And as he practiced, Facebook continued to grow. From a dorm room to offices, from a student project to a global company, the spark was now a strong flame lighting up the world. But growth and leadership were only part of the journey. As Facebook touched more people, its impact began to reach far beyond Harvard, far beyond America, and far beyond Mark himself. The platform was no longer just a website. It was changing how the world connected, communicated, and even lived. The next step in the journey was not about leadership inside the company, but about influence across the entire globe. Changing the world. Every invention, if it grows, eventually steps beyond its creator. What began in a quiet dorm room now belonged to the world. Facebook was no longer only about Harvard or even only about students. It was spreading across countries, across cultures, across languages. It was becoming a bridge between people who had once been far apart. Before Facebook, connection across the world was slow and often expensive. People wrote letters and waited weeks for a reply. Phone calls were possible, but they cost money, and many families could not afford long conversations. Distance created silence. Friends lost touch when they moved away. Families felt the pain of separation when members lived in different cities or countries. The world was large, and for many people it felt lonely. But Facebook changed this. Suddenly, distance did not matter as much. A mother in one country could see pictures of her son studying abroad. Old friends who had not spoken in years could find each other again with just a few clicks. People could share their lives, their thoughts, and their feelings instantly. The gap of miles was crossed by a simple internet connection. This was the magic of Facebook. It connected hearts, not just machines. It was not only about technology, it was about people. The website became a place where stories were shared, where birthdays were remembered, where love was celebrated, and where support was given in hard times. It was a digital home, open day and night, for anyone who wanted to belong. The contrast was clear. Before Facebook, people were limited by distance. After Facebook, communication became instant and constant. What once required effort and waiting now happened in seconds. The world felt smaller, closer, more alive. For many users, Facebook was more than a tool. It was hope. A father working far away could see his daughter's smile online. A young woman could find friends who shared her dreams in another country. A lonely student could join a group and realize he was not alone. These were small actions: posting a picture, writing a message, clicking like. Yet together, these small actions touched millions of lives. This is the lesson. Small actions can change the world. Just as one seed can grow into a tree, one message can bring comfort, one post can inspire, one connection can heal. Mark's small idea, once ignored by many, was now shaping the way the world communicated. But with great change comes great responsibility. When something touches millions of lives, it carries weight. Every action, every design choice, every new feature could affect people in powerful ways. Facebook was no longer just a fun website. It was becoming part of daily life. And when something enters daily life, it becomes powerful enough to influence culture, politics, and even emotions. Mark saw this power. He knew Facebook was more than a company. It was shaping the way humans interacted. That gave him pride, but it also gave him pressure. Because when you change the world, you are not only praised, you are also watched, questioned, and judged. For a moment, let us reflect. Isn't it interesting how something small can grow into something so big? Think about your English journey. A single word learned today may feel small, but one day it could allow you to speak with a stranger, make a new friend, or even find a new job. A single sentence practiced could open a door you cannot yet see. Change does not always come through big acts. Often, it comes through small steps repeated over time. Facebook was proof of this. Millions of people around the world were no longer strangers. They were connected. The platform gave voices to those who had felt silent. It gave communities to those who had felt alone. It gave speed and closeness to relationships that once faded with distance. Yet not everyone celebrated. Some people worried that Facebook was changing too much, too fast. Some asked if constant connection was healthy. Others warned about privacy and safety. For the first time, Facebook was not only praised, but also criticized. The very power that brought joy also brought fear. This is the double side of impact. When you change the world, you cannot control every result. Good and bad grow together, and the responsibility is heavy. Mark and his team would soon face questions they could not avoid. Was Facebook safe? Was it honest? Was it good for society? But in this moment of growth, one truth stood out. A small spark had truly become a global fire. Millions of people carried Facebook in their pockets, in their routines, in their relationships. The world was closer. The walls of distance were lower. The connections of the heart were stronger. This stage of Facebook's story is not just about technology, it is about humanity. It shows us that when we use tools to connect, to share, and to support, we are building bridges across oceans. It shows us that even the simplest action, sharing a thought, sending a picture, can be part of a bigger wave of change. So, remember this. Your actions matter. Your words matter. Even if they feel small, they can travel farther than you imagine. Just like Facebook started with one small dorm room, your life can grow from the small things you do with care and consistency. Mark's creation had become a force in the world. People were celebrating, connecting, and dreaming in new ways. But as the platform grew more powerful, so did the problems it faced. The same tool that brought people together could also be used in ways that hurt trust. And soon, Mark and his company would learn that success is never simple. With growth comes mistakes. With power comes criticism. And so, after the bright light of success, came the shadows of controversy. The next part of the story is about mistakes, criticism, and how leaders must face them. Mistakes and criticism. Success often looks bright from the outside, but inside it is full of shadows. For many years, Facebook grew quickly, connecting millions of people and becoming part of everyday life. People smiled when they saw pictures of friends, laughed at jokes, and felt close to family far away. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But no story of growth is without mistakes. Even great leaders, even big companies, must face their errors. At first, the problems were small. A bug in the system here, a complaint there. But as Facebook grew, so did the issues. Soon, they were not only about technology, they were about trust. People began to ask, what is Facebook doing with our information? Is it safe? Can we trust this company with our private lives? Privacy became a storm. Users learned that their personal data, names, interests, even conversations, was sometimes used in ways they did not fully understand. For many, this felt like a betrayal. The same tool that had made them feel close to others now made them feel exposed. The trust that had once built Facebook's success began to shake. Then came fake news. During elections and world events, false stories spread quickly across the platform. Some people believed lies, while others grew angry at the confusion. Governments, newspapers, and citizens demanded answers. They asked if Facebook had become too powerful, too careless, too dangerous. The contrast was painful. In the early days, Facebook was celebrated as a miracle of connection. Now it was criticized as a threat. Once Mark Zuckerberg was seen as a young genius changing the world for good. Now he was called to explain himself before leaders, questioned on television, and challenged by angry users. For many leaders, such criticism would be enough to quit. It is not easy to stand in front of millions of people and hear their disappointment. It is not easy to admit mistakes when the whole world is watching. But this is where real leadership is tested. Not in moments of celebration, but in moments of failure. Mark had to face the truth. Facebook had made mistakes. It had grown so quickly that not every choice was wise. Not every system was strong. Not every outcome was good. And he had to accept that criticism is part of leading something that touches millions of lives. There is a lesson here for all of us. Even great leaders make mistakes. Even the smartest minds cannot see every problem before it arrives. The difference between failure and growth is not about never making errors. It is about how we respond when those errors come. Do we hide, or do we face them? Think about your own life. Maybe you have tried to learn English and made mistakes in grammar or pronunciation. Maybe you felt embarrassed. Maybe someone laughed. Maybe you wanted to give up. But mistakes are not the end. They are part of the process. Just as a child learns to walk by falling many times, we learn to grow by failing and trying again. Mistakes are not signs of weakness. They are steps on the road to strength. For Facebook, the criticism forced change. New systems had to be built. New rules had to be created. Teams had to work harder to protect privacy, to fight fake news, to rebuild trust. It was not easy. It took time, patience, and honesty. But this is what growth requires: facing the pain, not running from it. Mark, once celebrated as a hero, now stood in a harder role. The man who had to listen to anger, admit problems, and promise change. He was no longer just the student with a dream. He was the leader of a global company responsible for millions of people's digital lives. And this is where the story teaches us another truth. Success is not only about building something, it is also about repairing it when it breaks. A house is not truly a home if it cannot survive storms. A leader is not truly strong if he only smiles in the sunshine, but hides in the rain. The world watched Facebook carefully during these storms. Some people forgave, some people stayed angry, but one thing was clear. The mistakes had marked a turning point. The company could not remain the same. It needed to transform. Mark realized this too. The future was bigger than Facebook. The internet itself was changing. People were moving from computers to mobile phones, and soon they would move beyond screens into new digital worlds. If Facebook wanted to survive, it needed to evolve. It needed to become more than a social network. This is why criticism, as painful as it was, became the seed of transformation. Without the mistakes, maybe there would be no push to grow, no reason to reimagine, no courage to begin again. Sometimes the things that hurt us the most are the things that prepare us for our next chapter. So even though the early glory of Facebook was now mixed with anger, it was also a chance to rebuild trust, a chance to take responsibility, a chance to create something new, something larger, something that would carry the company into the future. The lesson for us is simple. Do not fear mistakes. They are teachers in disguise. They show us where we need to grow, what we need to change, and how we can become better. If we face them with honesty, they can guide us toward transformation. Mark would soon take this lesson and use it. Out of criticism, he began to imagine something bigger than Facebook. He dreamed of a new future, a new company, a new vision. That vision would be called Meta. The story of mistakes and criticism does not end with defeat. It ends with the birth of something new. And in the next chapter, we will walk into that transformation together. The birth of Meta. Every great story reaches a moment where the hero must make a choice. Stay with what is safe, or risk everything for what might come next. For Mark Zuckerberg, that moment arrived after Facebook had grown large, powerful, and complicated. The company had connected billions of people, but it was also facing criticism, pressure, and questions about the future. Many leaders in his place would have stayed safe, holding tightly to what already worked. But Mark chose something different. He chose courage. In 2021, Mark stood before the world and announced a bold decision. Facebook would no longer only be Facebook. The company would take a new name, Meta. It was more than a rebrand. It was a declaration of vision, a message to the world that he was not finished, that he was ready to build something even larger than social media. Why Meta? Because Mark believed in the future of the metaverse. He imagined a digital world beyond screens, where people could meet, work, play, and live inside 3D spaces. Instead of just looking at a computer or a phone, people could step into an online universe as if it were real. It was a dream as wild as it was risky. The contrast could not be sharper. On one side was safety. Keep Facebook the same, continue making money, and avoid new dangers. On the other side was risk. Bet everything on a future that many people did not yet understand. Critics laughed. Some said it was foolish. Others said it was a desperate attempt to escape Facebook's problems. But Mark was not afraid of the laughter. He knew that bold moves always attract doubt before they bring results. This decision teaches a lesson. Change is scary, but it creates new chances. Imagine if Mark had stayed in the comfort of Facebook, afraid to risk his success. The company might have grown weaker as technology advanced, slowly left behind by new inventions. Instead, he chose the harder road, the uncertain road, because he believed that the biggest rewards often come after the biggest risks. The birth of Meta was not only about technology, it was also about mindset. It showed the world that leaders must look forward, not backward. They must have the courage to leave behind what is familiar in order to step into what is possible. That courage separates those who survive from those who fade. Think of your own journey. Maybe you are learning English now, and it feels safe to only use the words you already know. But if you want to grow, you must risk mistakes, try harder sentences, speak even when your voice shakes. Safety keeps you the same. Courage moves you forward. Just like Mark took the leap from Facebook to Meta, you too must sometimes leap into the unknown if you want to discover new doors. The announcement of Meta shook the world. Some people felt excited, imagining a future where they could sit at home and walk inside a virtual classroom, travel to digital countries, or attend concerts with friends across the globe. Others felt confused, wondering if it was all just a dream, too far away to be real. But that is what vision does. It divides opinion. It makes some people dream and others doubt. Mark faced both reactions, but he continued. He poured energy, money, and effort into this new future. He told the world that Meta would be the company building the next chapter of the internet. It was not just about posting photos anymore. It was about creating experiences, building worlds, and shaping the way humans connect in the coming decades. The lesson shines clearly here. Bold moves require courage. Every person who ever changed the world faced a moment where they had to risk their comfort. From inventors to artists to leaders, each one stepped into doubt before they stepped into success. Without courage, there is no breakthrough. Without risk, there is no new chance. But courage is not easy. It feels heavy. It feels frightening. It whispers questions. What if I fail? What if people laugh? What if this dream is too big for me? Mark surely heard these questions in his mind when he announced Meta. But he spoke anyway. He moved forward anyway. That is the difference between fear holding you back and courage pushing you forward. For English learners, This is a powerful lesson. Every time you try a new word, write a longer sentence, or speak to someone in English, you are practicing the same courage. You are stepping into a future that may feel uncertain, but it is filled with opportunity. Just as meta is a vision of tomorrow, your learning today is a vision of the person you are becoming. The birth of meta also shows that change is not the end of a story, but the beginning of another. Facebook was one chapter. Meta became the next. In life, we too must close some chapters to open new ones. A student becomes a worker. A beginner becomes a leader. A dreamer becomes a creator. Each step requires leaving something behind in order to step into something greater. So, when you face change, remember this. It is natural to feel afraid, but it is braver to keep moving. Mark's story reminds us that the future belongs not to the safe, but to the bold. The safe remain where they are. The bold create new paths. Meta was not just a company name. It was a symbol of transformation, of courage, of daring to step into the unknown. Whether it succeeds or fails fully is a question only time can answer. But the act of courage itself, the willingness to try, already teaches us more than success alone ever could. From this bold step, we learn that change is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Change carries us forward. Change tests us. Change makes us grow. And if we meet it with courage, it can open doors we never imagined. Mark's decision to create Meta was one of the riskiest moves in his life. It was a reminder to all of us that the future belongs to those who dare. And as we look deeper into this story, we will see that the lessons of Meta are not just for companies or leaders. They are lessons for each of us in our personal lives, in our growth, in our journeys of learning. In the next part of the story, we will take these lessons of risk and courage and apply them to our own paths. We will see how the birth of Meta connects to the choices we must make as individuals every day when we stand before the unknown and decide whether to step forward. Lessons for our life. Now we step away from the story of Facebook and Meta to see the lessons that apply to all of us. Mark Zuckerberg's journey is extraordinary, but the principles behind it are simple. They are not only for billion-dollar companies. They are for learners, for dreamers, for anyone who wants to grow. Today, we will see how his story connects to your daily life and your journey with English. Every journey begins with a small step. Just like Zuckerberg started in a dorm room with an idea, you start learning English with small words, short sentences, and a few exercises. It may feel small and unimportant at first. You might think, this is too little, it will never matter. But small steps are the spark of growth. Mark did not create Facebook in a day. He started with simple code, learning, testing, fixing mistakes. You do the same when you practice a new word, repeat a sentence, or write your first paragraph. Challenges will come. Just like Mark faced opposition, criticism, and mistakes, you will face difficulties in learning. Maybe English grammar is confusing. Maybe your pronunciation feels wrong. Maybe you feel shy to speak because you are afraid of mistakes. This is normal. Every learner faces obstacles. Every creator faces storms. What matters is how you respond. Do you give up, or do you continue step by step? This is the contrast that matters. Many people stop when it becomes hard. They see mistakes, frustration, and slow progress, and they quit. But those who continue, like Mark, find growth. Step by step, Day by day, small actions accumulate into big results. Just as Facebook grew from a dorm room to a global platform, your English grows from small practice sessions to real communication, confidence, and opportunity. Discipline is another lesson. Mark worked quietly in the shadows before anyone noticed. He faced long nights, errors, and doubts, but he stayed consistent. Learning, growing, and achieving require the same kind of patience. You may not see immediate results in English. You may struggle to understand conversations or speak fluently, but every word you learn, every sentence you repeat, every practice session builds a foundation. Over time, these small actions become strong skills. Mistakes are also essential. Zuckerberg faced criticism and errors, yet he used them as lessons to improve Facebook. In the same way, mistakes in English are not failures. They are signs that you are learning, that your brain is trying, and that you are growing. If you say a word incorrectly, correct it gently. If you use the wrong grammar, fix it and move forward. Mistakes are bridges to improvement, not walls to stop you. Vision is another key point. Mark always had a clear purpose: connecting people. Even when Facebook faced challenges, he remembered why he started. In learning English, your vision may be to travel, work abroad, make new friends, or read books. Keep this vision in your mind. It will guide you when learning becomes difficult. Vision is the compass that keeps you moving in the right direction, even when the path is hard. Courage is also crucial. When Mark created Meta, he risked everything on a new idea. Learning English also requires courage. Speaking to strangers, making mistakes in conversations, or trying new words feels risky. But courage pushes you forward. The more you step out of your comfort zone, the faster you grow. Risking small failures now leads to big progress later. Leadership is another lesson for life. You do not need to be a CEO to lead. Leadership means responsibility, guiding yourself, and helping others. In English learning, you can lead by helping classmates, practicing with friends, or sharing what you know. Leadership strengthens your skills and confidence. Like Mark leading his team, you lead your own learning journey. Finally, remember the power of persistence. Success is not magic. It is small steps, repeated every day. It is patience, discipline, courage, and learning from mistakes. Mark's story shows us that each effort counts, each decision matters, and every small action can create big change over time. You may start alone, uncertain, and small, but if you continue, you can build a life filled with growth, connection, and achievement. Even if the journey feels hard, remember this: step by step, you can improve. Mistakes will guide you, challenges will test you, critics may doubt you, but your belief in yourself can keep you moving forward. Just as Zuckerberg turned an idea in a dorm room into Facebook and then Meta, your small daily efforts in learning English can shape your future. The path may be long, but every step is progress. Your journey, like Mark's, is built on learning, courage, and persistence. Each day is a chance to grow. Each mistake is a lesson. Each small success is a spark. If you embrace these ideas, you will find that even ordinary steps can create extraordinary results. The life you dream of is waiting, one step at a time, and every choice you make today shapes the world you will live in tomorrow. The future vision. The future is not written, it is created by those who imagine it. Mark Zuckerberg often speaks about the power of vision, about seeing a world that does not yet exist and taking steps to build it. From Facebook to Meta, his story shows us that the future belongs to dreamers, those who are willing to see beyond today's limits and work toward what is possible tomorrow. Imagine the world today. People live with screens, phones, and computers. They send messages, watch videos, and scroll through endless posts. It is easy to feel that this is all there is. We are limited by what we can touch, see, and experience right now. Many people accept these limits and stop dreaming beyond them. They follow routines, repeat old habits, and rarely imagine something radically new. But visionaries see differently. Mark dreamed of a world beyond screens, a world where technology connects hearts, minds, and experiences in ways that feel real. He imagined a virtual space where people can meet, work, learn, and play without boundaries. A person in one country can sit next to a friend in another country and feel like they are together. These are possibilities that today's limits cannot show. This is the contrast between ordinary thinking and visionary thinking. Ordinary thinking says, "This is all we can do." Visionary thinking says, "This is only the beginning. What else is possible?" Mark did not accept that social media was enough. He saw that technology could become a bridge to human connection in ways that were not yet imagined. Vision is not just for billionaires. It is for everyone. You may not have company worth billions, but you have ideas, hopes, and dreams. You have small sparks that, if nurtured, can grow into something meaningful. Learning English, building skills, helping others, or creating small projects, these are your opportunities to practice vision. They may start small, but the future grows from small beginnings. Mark's vision teaches us that imagining the future is not idle dreaming. It is planning, creating, and acting. Dreamers must also be doers. A vision without action remains a picture in the mind. Zuckerberg took action every day, coding, building teams, learning from mistakes, listening to criticism, and guiding people toward a shared goal. Dreamers do not wait. They move step by step toward what they see in their mind. Think about your own life. You may dream of speaking English fluently, traveling, or building a career. Today, it may feel impossible. You may say, "I cannot do this yet. I am not ready." But just as Zuckerberg looked beyond what existed and worked for what could be, you too can take small steps toward your vision. Every word learned, every conversation practiced, every effort matters. Vision also requires patience. Big dreams do not happen overnight. Facebook started in a dorm room, unnoticed by most people. Meta required years of effort, mistakes, criticism, and adjustment. Similarly, your dreams will grow slowly, sometimes unseen. Patience does not mean waiting without action. It means continuing your efforts, trusting the process, and keeping your vision alive even when results are small or slow. Another important lesson is courage. Dreaming big feels risky. When Zuckerberg announced Meta, many laughed, criticized, and doubted him. Pursuing a vision can feel the same way. Others may not understand your goals. They may question your choices or your ability. But vision requires courage. The bigger the dream, the greater the resistance. Courage is what allows you to step forward anyway. Vision also connects people. Zuckerberg's dream is about connection, about helping the world feel smaller and closer. Your own vision, even on a smaller scale, can do the same. Helping a friend learn English, supporting family, creating a positive habit in your community. These are ways your vision touches others. Big or small, visions create ripples that reach far beyond you. The future vision also teaches flexibility. Dreams may change as the world changes. Zuckerberg adapted from Facebook to Meta, from social media to the metaverse. He understood that the journey is not straight. It bends, turns, and requires adjustments. Your personal vision may also evolve. Be willing to change your plans, learn new skills, and take new paths while keeping your ultimate goal in mind. Finally, vision inspires hope. Seeing the future differently gives energy, purpose, and motivation. It helps you move when obstacles appear. It reminds you that today's difficulties are not permanent limits. Just as Zuckerberg imagined a world more connected than the present, you can imagine a life richer, fuller, and stronger than today. Remember the contrast. Today's limits are real, but tomorrow's possibilities are greater. The small steps you take now, the courage to speak, practice, and learn, all build the future you imagine. You may start small, uncertain, or afraid, but your vision can guide every choice and every action. Mark's story shows us that the future belongs to those who dream and act. It belongs to those who see beyond what is, who imagine what can be, and who have the courage to build it. You do not need billions of dollars to dream big. You only need belief, persistence, and action. Your vision is your power. As we prepare for the final part of this journey, keep this in mind. Every step you take today, every effort to learn, every small risk you take, is a seed for the future. Dreamers create the world, one choice at a time, and your choices can shape a life filled with growth, connection, and hope. Conclusion. Think back to the beginning of this story. A young student sat in his dorm room at Harvard, staring at a computer screen. He had an idea, a small, simple idea, but he believed it could grow. That idea became Facebook. It faced challenges, criticism, mistakes, and doubts. Yet step by step, day by day, he worked quietly, learned from errors, led others, and dreamed bigger. One small spark in a dorm room grew into Meta, a company that connects millions of people around the world. This story teaches us an important lesson. One person can start small, make mistakes, and still change the world. Success is not about starting big or being perfect. It is about taking the first step, staying consistent, learning from difficulties, and moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Each effort you make, no matter how small, builds the foundation for something larger. There is a clear contrast here. Today, your life may feel ordinary, uncertain, or limited. You may think your actions are too small to matter, but imagine if you stay focused, take small steps every day, and continue learning. Like Zuckerberg, your ideas can grow, your skills can improve, and your impact can expand. The dorm room spark becomes a global fire, and your own Meta can be born. Learning English is exactly the same journey. It may feel small at first, a new word, a sentence, or a conversation. You may make mistakes. You may face moments of frustration. But every time you practice, read, speak, and listen, you are building your future. You are connecting with people, opening doors, and expanding your world. Small actions done consistently lead to growth and opportunity. Remember the steps from this story. Start small, stay disciplined, learn from mistakes, keep vision alive, and act with courage. Every learner, no matter where they begin, can follow these principles. Every effort you make adds up. Every day you practice English is another step toward your own global connection. Just like Meta connects millions, your learning connects you to new friends, ideas, and possibilities. Your journey may feel challenging, but it is meaningful. It is your dorm room spark, your small idea, your beginning. Stay patient, stay brave, and stay consistent. The path of learning and growth may take time, but each step moves you closer to your dreams. One day you will look back and see how far you have come, and the small actions you took today will have created a life full of connection, knowledge, and success. Thank you for watching until the end. Keep learning, keep practicing, and remember that your journey matters. For more stories, lessons, and English learning, visit my channel, Read and Learn English, and continue growing with us every day.